Welcome to the Quick Stop F1 podcast. My name is Mario, and you could have been anywhere in the world, but you're here with us, and we appreciate it. Welcome to the Quick Stop F1 Saturday show. Woo! This is Singapore race weekend, so we're excited to be here with you. But before we get into anything less important than introducing my co-host, she is... I learned today that there is no hairstyle that she cannot pull off, and I'm excited to see what other hairstyles will come during the pipeline. If you ever need any comments or concerns sent your way, feel free to give her an email address or phone. She will be using those. And she is, as I've said it before, and I'll say it again, she's the main reason we are all here. Welcome,
That's not true.
Tasha. That is true, and I will say it, and you will. Excuse me, is this... I'm sorry, but is this your section of the podcast where you introduce Tasha, or is this my section of the podcast where I introduce Tasha? Because I think it's the latter. Therefore, she is the most hardworking person in the industry. I added that one right now off the dome just to make you feel like more compliments.
Thank you.
And she is the best co-host and the main reason.
Oh, thank you very much, Mario. Thank you.
Thank you for being here, Tasha. How are you? How are you feeling?
I'm feeling great. I am excited for this little break. I'm braiding my hair for people who are listening but not watching. My hair really is cool. In braids, but really it takes a while. So I'm happy for this little break to like actually rest my fingers because, it's giving arthritis a little bit. Like as I'm braiding, I'm just like noticing my fingers starting to lock up a little bit.
Let me know. I know some fun. Cool, like, I got some cool, like, hand exercises that I do because of the keyboard and the piano and the thing. And you're supposed to, like, we'll talk about that later. Yeah. So we are here to break down the Singapore GP. Before we do that, if you are on YouTube, make sure to like, comment, subscribe. If you're on Spotify, Apple Music, make sure you download those episodes, leave a 5-star review. We will be reading those. We have a Patreon with exclusive ad-free content, access to merch, and all that good stuff. Before we get into any Singapore specific information, Tasha, we need to provide an update or talk about things that have happened after our conversations last week with regards to Helmut Marko and him being a racist fuck and still being a racist fuck. Tasha, what have we been seeing happening since our last episode?
Well, I mean, what we expected, which was basically a lot of people sort of avoiding like answering directly the topic, specifically from Red Bull. So you had Christian Horner basically coming out and saying like, the reason why we haven't given a statement about his comments are because Marco's not technically an employee of Red Bull. He's also 80 years old. So, he doesn't know what he's saying. Like, I mean, I'm paraphrasing anyway. And then you have Max basically saying like, I don't think I'm the right person to educate Marco.
We know, by the way, Max, we know. Yeah, nobody asked you to educate him, and nobody would be crazy enough to be like, you know who needs to educate Marco?
Right.
Can we get Max Verstappen on this ASAP, please? Because he is the one to... We don't need you to educate him, man. We just need you to say it's fucked up what he said.
That's it. And then, you have Checo, who is under duress, accepted this apology, quote unquote, from Helmut Marko in private, might I add, which I think is funny, like, publicly disrespect somebody and then privately apologize for it. So that's been fun. And of course, then the main predictable thing that we all knew would happen.
It's crazy. I just want to say, when Tasha says predictable, it means Tasha literally predicted it last time.
And everybody, like, I mean, we all did. We were all just like, who's gonna get asked about this directly, and who's gonna actually answer directly? And obviously, the answer is Lewis. So that was fun because then basically he got abused for that as a result because all of his fans were like, well, Checo said it was fine between them, and the team has apologized, and da 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 da. So it's like Lewis is beefing with Helmut Marko, or instead of just like him addressing these very like racist, xenophobic comments and putting on his big boy pants and tackling a huge issue basically. So now it's his fault. So
we stand by Lewis Hamilton's comment. All of that, all of the things that he said. I was mentioning to Tasha, like, it's crazy to me that such an impressive person, such a person that like all he does is things to admire and respect. He's made mistakes before, just like every human being has made mistakes before. But it's crazy to me that someone who carries himself the way that Sir Lewis Hamilton does is turned into a token minority by this sport. And his opinions were great. What he said was great. I'm not going to speak for him, but basically he included, which I liked a lot, is like this person, Helmut Marko, is preventing progress in the sport.
Correct.
And that is a fact. Like, that is absolutely true. That people like us see people like Marco do these things, and we are absolutely more not shy, but we're like, we think it twice about going into the sport and going into all these conversations. We are not surprised, but it is insane to me that it somehow got flipped back at Lewis.
Yeah.
But we're not surprised, because that is how it is with this team.
Call it. I mean, it's not even like it's just one of those things where it's like you said, they tokenize Lewis to the point where, you know, he's the go-to guy on racist talk, you know, because he's the only one who really does give like a direct answer, something quotable. I believe there's a journalist on F1 Twitter who was talking about essentially how Lewis creates interest in this topic, not apparently because it's not interesting enough, you know, because Lewis has that more direct, gives a more direct statement. It essentially helps them create articles and clicks. And he tried to, the journalist tried to, you know, to say like, oh, it's not clickbait, but then he goes on to describe how it's exactly clickbait by using Lewis's name and parts of his quote to drive traffic to articles and to websites, when they should specifically be speaking to the stuff that Red Bull is, and in this case isn't doing, which is directly holding somebody accountable for that. I will add, the FIA surprised me, because I thought they were going to do nothing about this, but they did next to nothing, which was even funnier.
They didn't do nothing, just a little.
They gave a little something. They gave Helmut a written warning about his behavior and essentially reminded him that, you know, this is a global sport and essentially he needs to watch his mouth, I guess. So
if I sent him a message, said, please, we know we all speak this way in private, don't do it in public. Like, keep that inside. Yeah.
Keep that in the house. So yeah, it's just been very like funny, but not like funny, haha, you know, it's just like this, you couldn't write how poorly of a response to all of this has been. Like, I would never have a written warning. Mind you, this isn't the first time he's said anything or done anything like this. So the fact that, you know, he's gotten away with it like 28 times.
The first 20 are free, Tasha. Tasha, the first 20 are free.
Right.
21 gets you that written.
Right. Now you've taken it too far. Like, you know, so.
Speaking of things that should have consequence that have absolutely no consequence. We are going to talk about it a little bit later. We're going to talk about qualifying a little bit later. But while we're on the topic of Red Bull doing whatever the fuck they want and getting no consequences for that, during qualifying today, I'm not going to be funny about it. During qualifying today, Max Verstappen incurred in 3 possible penalties. One of them was, or I think all 3 of them were impeding, but one of them was like 18 seconds of impeding. Tasha, what was the conclusion or the outcome for Max Verstappen after those 3 penalties and the conversation with the FIA?
I mean, they basically gave for each instance, he was basically reprimanded only. So no grid drop for him in any instance, which is crazy because the precedent this season has definitely been grid places. So suddenly now we're giving out fines and reprimands and strongly written letters. So yeah, just kind of, you know, interesting.
So if you thought that because the announcers, if you thought because of our past history and like the past history of F1 penalties, if you thought these were slam dunks for grid penalties, you're right. It's just, it happened to Max. So
right.
Not,
they don't see it. When they say they're investigating, they definitely
They're probably investigating to see if they can blame someone else for it.
Right, exactly. They're like, who else can? You were in the way. Actually, no, that was during one of the
Logan.
Was it Logan? Well, but it was like, so when Max was accused of you know, impeding the pit wall, I remember there was a point in the broadcast where they were like, well, let's take at the instances of everybody else impeding Max. And it's like, they had to bring other people into it. It couldn't just be that Max was sitting in the pit lane, obstructing everybody behind. Like half of the grid was behind him waiting to go. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, oh, well, how can we turn this around on everybody else? And it's like, dude, like this is the shit we're talking about when we say it's like clearly not fair for everybody on the,
exactly
on the grid.
It's not. It's literally not.
Huge bias. And so it's just interesting that it's like, once again, we're seeing stuff that's been slam dunk penalties all season. And suddenly now we don't know how to punish those to the precedent that has been set. So I just think that's interesting. Yeah.
It's that Family Guy meme where it's like the different colors on a little notebook. Yes. And it's like, fine, no fine. And, it's they... At least they do it, apparently at this point, they're down with doing it out in the open. Apparently
so
at this point.
I don't want to hear any conspiracy theory shit. Like, people are making stuff up or it's on 4K. Like,
literally.
If you have eyes and you can see what's going on here. Like, at this point, like, there's none of that, you guys are making stuff up. You're just coming at them, whatever. Like, no, it is. We're just reporting the news. So that's it.
If you didn't hear that, go back and listen to it again. Literally just reporting what's happening here.
We're just reporting
like this is literally just reporting what's happening. Like just like when we reported that, remember when Lewis Hamilton and Checo had a really, 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 really tiny thing, and then Lewis Hamilton got a fine, not a fine, but a penalty so quickly that it left us. Yeah, it left us wondering why. Wow, the FIA must have a team dedicated to bring up penalties because these were so quick. But no, it really depends on, I guess, skin color. Anyways, we are excited to cover qualifying, but we were and are and probably are going to still be forever as we're fans of this sport on Racist Watch, and wanted to make sure that we provided an update for that. Before we go into all of our qualifying stuff, Tasha, anything you want to add before we go into a little quick ad break?
No, I think that's it. That's it. We covered it so far. Yeah.
Okay. We do have a bunch of tweets. So thank you very much for all of you who reached out to us with your predictions. We're definitely going to read those a little bit later. Remember, you can reach out to us on our socials, whether it's Quick Stop, whether it's Tasha or I. And thank you for watching and listening. If you're on YouTube, make sure to subscribe. We'll talk in a second. So there was a qualifying in Singapore. I thought it was going to be at a much, much more terrible time. So I just want to say shout out time zones, I guess, because it wasn't that bad. 9 a.m., that was fine. I wanted to mention some quick bullets about things that have happened since last week that aren't racism related. So they announced, me being F1, announced that Zhou Guanyu is back with Alfa Romeo for next year. I also just forgot about this, so mentioning that Alfa Romeo is actually becoming Sauber next year, and then they're becoming Audi the year after that.
Right.
We've been, I think, real quick, like, I have pretty positive opinions about Zhou Guanyu. I do think he would be doing better if he wasn't in an Alfa Romeo. Agreed. But you and I have talked about Bottas, about Valtteri, and about Zhou Guanyu, and like how it feels sometimes that it's like, do something.
Yeah.
Did you like this signing? Do you think
I'm happy.
It does any? Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, yeah, I think I'm happy that he still has his seat. I feel like he's been despite the issues with the car, and I think I'm talked about this like in the past, where it just sort of feels like the team's in like a limbo situation where it doesn't feel like they're really dedicating a lot of at least resources at this point to like updating this car. I mean, I think they've had some upgrades, but it just hasn't really like moved the needle in terms of like overall car performance. But I think both Valtteri and Zhou both put in like very strong performances for what they are working with. You would expect that they were both be like dead last in the drivers' championship, but that's actually not the case. They're pretty, somewhere in the middle of the pack. I don't know their exact numbers at the moment.
No, but still, their performance has been
they're performing
a lot better than what you would expect, I think.
Yeah, and I agree. I think Zhou, like in a different car or on a better team, I think we would see even more from him. But I think he's put in like solid enough. Like since his rookie year, he's been really solid to me as a driver. So I think, and with him and Valtteri both staying at the same team, and they seem like they both work really well together and they like each other, get along. I feel like as long as they kind of keep that dynamic, I imagine when the car gets better, we'll see even stronger performances from both of them. But yeah,
I agree with you 100%. Yeah. I hope the car gets better because it's literally just like you said, like there's so much limbo and there's so much like, it feels like they're just cruising until Audi comes in 2026.
Yeah, exactly. And just taking up a little space. Yeah.
Exactly. Which is not ideal, but at least the drivers, I really like both drivers.
Same.
So it's good to see Joe get another chance. Additionally, again, this is us reading the news. This isn't giving opinions. But this next one, there was a new technical directive going into effect. It is TD018. It provides, I'm just reading this because I can't be asked, but it provides clarity around bodywork design details and in particular front and rear wings that, according to FIA single-seater technical director Tim Goss, try to get most of the boundaries that exist within the regulations. I think really we saw I guess a summary of this really was the flexible wings, how flexible a wing can be on a car. And I believe that Red Bull had a wing that wasn't approved by this technical directive.
So I think Aston was in there as well. I think Aston allegedly, supposedly.
Allegedly.
Yeah.
I didn't say allegedly. Red Bull is 100%
right. Allegedly, yeah.
So that did have a change in the Red Bull car, Aston Martin. I wonder if that had any effect. We'll find out soon. But with that, really, we will move on to, we always like to talk a little bit about practice, just briefly, and we do have some notes. So for the Singapore GP, this is a high downforce street circuit. I mentioned that because in the broadcast, they mentioned that it is almost a 180 degree from Monza. Where Monza, the package that you have to prepare for Monza is completely different. It was what you have to do for the Singapore GP. There's going to be 62 laps, and each lap is roughly 5 kilometer length. During the free practices, Albon didn't participate in one of those. But yeah, I think if anything, Tasha, were there any drivers during free practice that you thought like it looks pretty good, like consistent? Maybe you were like, if this keeps up, they might do really well in qualifying. Did any drivers stand out to you?
Yeah, I think it was definitely Carlos Sainz. I feel like since Monza, he's just been looking really like confident. Yeah, just very, I got this. So that kind of energy has been exuding lately. So yeah, he looked really good in all practice sessions. George has been looking really good. I also think Lando as well. I know he got a new package update. It's not on both McLarens, but he got a new update as well for this race. So the car looks really strong. He looks really strong. I think those three kind of stood out to me for practice. Yeah. And everybody else just kind of, did their thing. They're like little testing and whatever. So yeah.
I agree with McLaren specifically. And Lando shrugged it off, but they were saying that the data was showing McLaren as the dominant car this weekend after Red Bull. Nice. So it's like you said, like it looks like that package in Lando's car is working well. Yeah. But yeah, Sainz and George Russell looked like just consistent, really consistent during practice. So
they both look very focused. I mean, I would say the similarity between both of them is the fact that, like, as teammates to, more popular people, let's just say, I think the narrative for them tends to be like, they're not as good, or like they're kind of getting washed or whatever, like either way, absolutely. Like there's just been a huge narrative, not necessarily positive toward both of them. And I think after summer break, they both kind of came back and were like, F that, I'm just going to.
That's a good point.
Do my thing, and like whatever happens. And it does seem like at this moment, like momentum is kind of swinging for both of them. So yeah. Yeah.
Carlos Sainz still does not have an extension with Ferrari. Like
he's like, what do I gotta do? Yeah.
And I'm saying to your point, it's like you have that hanging over you as Carlos Sainz, and you still come back from your summer break and you're like, fuck it, I'm gonna fucking I'm a ball.
Yeah, and, ball out. Yeah,
yeah, and it's we'll see. It's still no extension though. That's that's crazy. But I do agree with you 100%. McLaren, specifically George Russell and Carlos Sainz, did look really good. Yeah. As you might have noticed, if you listen to this podcast or watch this podcast, Tasha brings you the heavy hitters, the good stuff, the stats, the smarts. I bring this. F1 TV. We were all on Iguana, Lizard, Reptile Watch during the practice sessions. Here, this podcast was also under Reptile Watch with the whole Helmut Marko thing, but now we're talking about actual lizards on track.
Right.
F1 TV, y'all did like a 5-minute segment on how people need to react, approach, behave around lizards. Y'all taught me that lizards are a protected species in Singapore. Great lessons. Maybe you should also teach that racism is bad and maybe talk about it for more than 30 seconds like you did this week. Because damn, can you guys talk about lizards, but apparently can't talk about the biggest lizard of all in Helmut Marko. But I guess, I learned a thing, which is also, which is great. If Marko ever drops a song and it starts with, there's a lizard on the track, that's a fucking fire producer track. That's a fire producer tag. God. Lizard on the track. Ooh, I really like it. So that's a hard-hitting journalism that I bring to this show.
And for people who didn't watch practice, he just means because there were 3 times they got flagged for huge lizards.
Ooh, I wasn't going to ask the question, but now you walked yourself right into it, Tasha. Okay. They were talking about, and yes, she's absolutely right. I should have provided the context that there were actual lizards on track during these sessions. They were talking about the following. We might have to add an animal on track flag. Like we have the meatball flag, like we have the checkered flag, like we have flags in F1. And they said that they were, maybe we add an animal on the track flag. To that, the easiest layup I came up with is maybe we add a racist in the paddock flag and we wave that. But Tasha, if you were to add any flags into a Formula One practice qualifying race, doesn't matter, what would that flag be?
I'm gonna say a nap flag. Everybody just take 5. I don't like what's going on here. Y'all have attitudes. Everybody's all cranky because it's hot. Take a nap. Everybody take 5. Yeah. Little power nap. It'll be fine.
The race engineer power nap flag. When you get to, GP, here's Max doing the Max thing. He's like, all right, let me.
Yeah.
Okay.
You need a nap. You're cranky.
I like it. Yeah. I like it. Also, I would love it for us. We could also look at that flag and be, yeah, I could use a little nap.
I could have used a nap today after quali. During quali, I'm not going to lie. There was a big delay at some point. I was like, yeah, this could have been a nap. This could have been an email.
It's always hindsight 2020 with naps. You're always like, ooh, I could have fit a nap there. But I don't know. So, anything else from practice? Oh, I guess the one. Oh, go ahead.
No, I was going to say the last thing from practice was kind of, which feeds into quali, is Red Bull's performance. So last race, Max extended his win in a row record to 10. This weekend, we're expecting, but now kind of questioning if he can make that 11 for him and then 15 for Red Bull. And going into the weekend, I do know Max kind of questioned a little bit, would this track kind of suit their car? They may have issues. And from the practice, FP1, FP2 especially, their car definitely seemed like kind of a handful. They weren't really getting a handle on it, and all the adjustments that they were making weren't really making the car drive better. So there was that. FP3, it looked a bit better in terms of handling, some better grip, but kind of on the back foot. So in terms of performance, Red Bull's streak of winning is kind of up in the air. And that was kind of the big news from practice. So because I think all of us were sandbagging, so I was like, I don't really trust this. Yeah.
Me too. I was gonna say I was very skeptical. I was like, Red Bull.
Yeah.
I even thought like, yeah, it's very convenient for the storylines if Red Bull starts like sandbagging and then it's like, oh, Red Bull suck now instead of talking about Red Bull racist. So like, I even went as far as thinking about that, but
you're thinking like 4D chess in terms of like PR.
overdoing it. But apparently whatever was happening in practice apparently kept happening.
Yeah.
One thing that they mentioned, and we talked about this pre-show, but there was a change in the track in Singapore to add a fourth straight where there was a turn before, and they were talking about whether they wanted to add DRS to that straight, and there was a voting. The drivers voted on it, and out of the 20 drivers, or maybe I don't know if reserve drivers vote as well, I'm not sure, but 4 drivers or 4 teams apparently said no. So there won't be a DRS on that straight. I am like, that'll be fun. My thought process, which is I think incorrect really, but like my thought process was like, who would want DRS that isn't Red Bull? But apparently it goes a little bit deeper. Like apparently, yeah. So I would be interested, unless you tell me that I don't know. I'd be interested to see who voted on those. But there won't be a fourth DRS spot. So there's going to be 3 DRS during the race. And with that, I think we can just go straight into this quali mess.
Yeah.
So we obviously Singapore qualifying session was earlier today. We always like to record a little bit later just to take the temperature of stuff like Max Verstappen getting away with murder and nobody caring. And then Lewis Hamilton like hitting a fly and getting a penalty. So we always like to gauge those things. So for qualifying 1 for Singapore, we lost in order from 16th through 20th. We lost Valtteri Bottas, Oscar Piastri, Logan Sargent, Zhou Guanyu, and Lance Stroll. Tasha, what do you got for us with qualifying 1?
My notes. Okay, so I basically immediately noticed Lando coming out the gate like super strong. He goes P1 basically, and then Leclerc takes it shortly after. It's kind of a theme in the quali where Ferrari and Lando's McLaren are kind of battling each other, you know? So it kind of starts right away, first session. I said Perez, Verstappen, Sainz, and Piastri are slower, but they're all kind of like in the mix at this point. Russell goes fastest in sector 1, goes P1 on his first lap. Hamilton's about 0.2 down on him and goes P5. I said Ocon and Albon look decent, but definitely not impressive this weekend. And I don't know what that could be attributed to, but they just kind of didn't look super in the mix at first. Gasly shoots up to 6, Alonso P5. Max puts in a better lap for his next lap, goes P1. And then Sainz immediately goes faster by like 6/100ths. And you have Leclerc still in the hunt. His next lap is like P3. And then I said, like, with 5 minutes to go, we see the top of the sheet. The top 5 are Sainz, Verstappen, Leclerc, Russell, and Norris. And then the bottom 5 are Stroll, Sargent, Albon, Bottas, and Zhou. And then everybody comes out for the last couple minutes, obviously. Track evolution is a huge part of this. I do remember in practice 3, they were saying that it had rained a bit earlier. So all the rubber and oil, everything kind of got like washed away. And so they were kind of, adding to that, to the rubberization of the track during practice.
I know a few times they mentioned during qualifying 1, they mentioned that the track was still really dusty.
Yeah, really dusty. But even still, you see the track kind of start to ramp up toward the last couple of minutes, which is how we end up with Yuki.
Why are you laughing? Why are you already laughing? Why are you already laughing?
I always am laughing. Yuki P1, Magnussen P2.
That's why you're laughing. That's why you were laughing.
Question mark? Yeah. Perez finally goes up to P2. And then we have the big, he's alive. Like, he's just not there. I mean, again, kind of a weekend where he's just sort of like not really there. But then we get the big thing from Q1, which is that Lance Stroll hits a wall and red flags the remaining part of the session.
It looked rough.
The crash looked gnarly. Like almost 3/4 of the front are gone. Like, it's just one of those crashes where I think they even mentioned, like, if this was another period in time, he may not have survived it. So all of the safety features of these cars definitely were put to the test. It was a pretty rough crash. So yeah, I'm definitely happy that he's okay because it looked bad. So
I was mentioning when that happened that I was talking about pre-show that the onboard camera was left on before. Obviously, the onboard is always on, and then that crash happens, and they left the onboard camera on for like the whole time that he's getting out and everything, and you could see him like it looks like. I might be completely wrong, but it looks like the crash was so strong that he even struggled to take out the steering wheel from his car. Like you could see him for like 30 seconds rotating it around and like trying to pull it out and everything with the steering wheel. Yeah. And then they left it on. Just a little note, like they left it on after the marshals came and like until the car was stored away and everything. So that onboard's pretty interesting if anybody wants to go back to look at it. Yeah.
That was that was wild to see. So with that happening though, you had quite a few people who weren't able to improve on their lap times just after that flag. It was kind of over. But you did have some people who were sort of saved by the bell, and one of them was Hamilton. I think he was like P14.
14th,
something like that. So yeah, it wasn't looking that great for Mercedes.
We've talked about this, and you've talked about this in almost every show. Lewis Hamilton does what he does in qualifying, but he does it in a stressful way. Yeah, like. So. I don't know. I would almost try to be a little bit more. What do I know? But like I would try to be more aggressive at the start of qualifying or something because it really does feel like Hamilton is always like doing well, but at the very end, like
it's like skin of the teeth sort of thing. So not great for us, but we move, and so
we do move. We absolutely move.
And then something I kind of forgot to mention is at some point in there, Max was stopped at the end of the pit lane for about 18 seconds while the light was green, and this is when he was noted for impeding, which later we find out that he's only getting reprimanded for a reprimand. So
it was only 18 seconds.
Yeah, it was just a little.
It was just 18 seconds. Is 18 seconds a lot?
The nap flag came out, and he just needed a little power nap.
The nap flag came out. Okay.
Yeah. Meanwhile, I will say the last person who did Sargent also impeded Stroll in Q1, and he actually got a €5,000 fine for Williams, and because they failed to inform him of an approaching car. So take that with
so much money
you would like.
To them, Yes. Again, hard-hitting journalism right here. Everybody needs a friend like GP.
Yeah, he holds it down. Like
GP's trying his best to be like, oh man, that car, Max, the car, right? No, you were impeding and you were napping for 18 seconds. Yeah. But it's fine. Nothing happens to you when you impede 18 seconds.
Correct.
It's fine. It's fine.
It's fine.
So we had we had a long break in between Q1.
Yeah, it was pretty
that accident, everybody's okay. That's really good. My suggestion to fix impeding is we add horns to these F1 cars. You know?
I'm gonna we'll write a letter to them and see.
Oh yeah, you will. Yeah. You will. You'll find a phone number and you will call with comments.
Questions, comments, concerns. Like actually, yes, I do.
I do have some. That was Q1. Mm-hmm. Not ideal the way we moved on, but we moved on. Man, what do you think? Real quick, what do you think about this? What do we do with Stroll?
He needs to go. He's done. You're done.
Yeah.
Like Lawrence and or his investors or somebody, like they just got to come to their senses. I'm sorry. Like this is not the sport for Lance.
He's had a lot of chances, and he's not the worst. Yeah. But he's had enough chances to prove that he's better than he is, and he's not.
The car is just is capable of so much more than what he can do, and it's not even just that he's crashing, but it's also just that he's nowhere. Like he'll be, P18, P16. You know what I'm saying? Like he's just constantly not in the mix. The fact that he's not even in the mix helping Alonso score extra points is like that.
Who
to me
is
enough.
7th, by the way.
Yeah,
I hate to skip, but like to prove your point, like Lance is going to be starting at 20th if his engineers can pull off. Yeah. And meanwhile, Alonso is at 7th. So the car is there. The driver. I don't know.
Yeah.
We move on to qualifying 2. In qualifying 2, we ball. We ball. So qualifying 2 comes up, and from 11th to 15th, we lose Max Verstappen, Pierre Gasly, Sergio Perez, Alexander Albon, and Yuki Tsunoda.
Yeah, that was fun. So let me just recap real quick.
Yeah.
So Max goes out first. He's like to be first out. He goes immediately P1, then K-Mag, ? Lando and Sainz come up behind them, and they all kind of top the timesheets. At some point, Red Bull, I looked, they're like 7th and 8th on the timesheets, which is again very strange. But this is kind of par for what's happening with the car this weekend. It just doesn't seem like it wants to perform. Noted again that Russell looked really strong this weekend. He's been faster basically than Lewis. He goes P1, and Lewis right behind him goes P5. Max is impeding Yuki this time. And
allegedly.
Well, yeah. And then you kind of learn on the broadcast that because that kind of ruined his lap, he's essentially just going to like hold out and do one lap at the end.
Yeah.
Stick a pin in that. So with 5 minutes to go, we have Russell, Alonso, Sainz, Norris, and Hamilton at the top of the timesheet. Perez, Hülkenberg, Lawson, Albon, and Tsunoda on the bottom. And yeah, from there we have Max goes out again. Red Bull is still struggling for grip. He kind of has like a little bit of a moment, so it kind of ruins his time. He's not improving. Meanwhile, we go to another turn, and Perez is spun out. So he's like, you're done. We only have like 2 minutes left of the session at this point. So he's done. Like I said, Max didn't improve. Perez is out. Then we have the young legend, Liam Lawson, who does us all
going to get free meals for life.
Like, wow, I was not familiar with your game, sir.
Yes, sir.
So you had Max sitting at P10. He was the driver in danger.
Yes.
And Liam Lawson comes and knocks him out, sealing his spot in Q3, which was crazy.
And possibly doing the opposite of sealing his spot in Red Bull.
Yeah. So yeah, again, shock to us all, at least about Max. You assume that he would have been able to kind of get through the skin of his teeth, but no, Liam knocked him out. And yeah, so from there, we had just like a little bit of a top 5 situation. Sainz, Russell, Alonso, Magnussen, Norris. Max receives his reprimand for impeding Yuki, which now we know resulted in nothing happening.
No way, shocker.
Also, interestingly, Yuki didn't set a final lap. So after I had said that
Yuki had plans
of
saving
it for the last, that didn't exactly happen.
It's super fascinating to me that it was about a 10-second difference in commentary when they said Max P10, Yuki quit his lap.
Right. And again, he went P1 in the first quali session. So the car wasn't exactly like in a position where it couldn't have gotten out of the bottom. So it is very
interesting.
Sus that he just didn't go. Yeah. He did his part of his lap and then he backed out. So I don't know.
Yeah. It's crazy they haven't installed the kill switch on Liam's car.
Yeah.
They must have forgotten to install the kill switch on it.
Yeah.
Because it did.
Yeah. They didn't in the onboarding package for him, because it was all happening so fast.
It was all fast.
So fast. Yeah. So they were just probably missed a couple of important notes. Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't talk about this in the pre-show, but I heard it during the broadcast about Liam. It was pretty cute. He used to be he was a fan of F1 growing up and everything, and he and his father would watch F1 together, and they really wanted to go to Singapore GP, and they talked about going, and they never went. So this week, Liam Lawson is driving in Singapore, and his mom and dad are with him at the track.
That's dope.
That is just a cool story to hear from. And
the lesson is, if you want to go to Singapore, become an F1 driver.
Become an F1 driver.
Obviously,
That's all you got to do. So it's cool that he did this there also with his family. But it's a shame that Red Bull will never hire him ever again after what he did. But
let me just tell you, from my perspective as a fan, thank you. You just did something that we've all been waiting for. I'm sorry. it needed to be done. Like,
absolutely.
He did it. He's the man. So like, that's how I don't know. Like for me, I'm just like with Red Bull, this is the weekend that they deserve so far, you know, with everything happening. Like you see how God don't like ugly. You know what I'm saying?
Even the lizards don't like ugly.
The FIA wouldn't do anything. F1 wouldn't ban anybody from the paddock. But you know what God said? He said, you guys will not complete the next round of quali. So whatever happens from here happens.
The shitty part is the Checo thing is like par for the course for him recently.
Yeah, that nothing changed there. So
exactly. So we're talking about all this Max thing because it is different. But like Checo, even the spin, I was like, of course.
Yeah.
Of course.
Did you see the tweet that was about Max complaining or in response to Lewis saying that he didn't have strong teammates? Max, 2 weeks later, his rebuttal was, well, all my teammates, ironically, finished ahead of him in quali last week in Monza or whatever. Well, this week, Max and all of his former teammates were in the bottom 5. So...
I love it because we're all grouped up together. Like, we're all friends here.
We're all buddies. Yeah, we're all besties. So I just thought that was like a little funny thing to put in there. But it's just funny how, you know, life comes at you fast.
Exactly. So Max is 5. Max, Gasly, Checo, Albon, and Yuki. All together.
Gang's all here. Yeah.
Gang's all here. It's a shame that Lewis Hamilton is up there, though.
Yeah.
Didn't make it to the party. Lewis didn't make it to this party this time. Right. Okay, so that's Q2.
Yes.
And then we go into our Q3. And we've got, we got to put it all on the line. Our starting grid, whatever. I'll go to the starting grid. The starting grid for tomorrow's race for the top 10 is going to be Carlos Sainz, George Russell, Charles Leclerc, Lando Norris, Lewis Hamilton, Kevin Magnussen, Fernando Alonso, Esteban Ocon, Nico Hulkenberg, and the man who will not pay for a meal one another day in his life, Mr. Liam Lawson. That is your top 10.
Nice. Yeah.
Tasha, what do you got for us for Q3?
Fun session. Very exciting. We have Sainz, Norris, Alonso, and Leclerc all come out first, and they're battling it out to start. You have Sainz at the top of the timesheet. I just feel like, he's just putting his foot down, essentially. So it's been a good battle, but he's basically saying, this is mine. Russell goes P4, and Lewis P5. I don't really see the pace situation. It's for us.
We didn't hear much from Lewis during qualifying.
Yeah, I think I tweeted something like I think I tweeted something like, his strategy for quali was just surviving, because it did sort of feel like nothing special was happening. I mean, he's not doing horribly, but it just felt like, it just wasn't very like flamboyant performance. Essentially, he's just getting the car over the line and calling it a day. So at some point we have Ferrari 1 and 2 provisionally. And I wrote that Sainz has looked like the stronger of the two drivers this weekend, which he has. Charles kind of last week, like he was,
or last race.
And last week. Yeah. It's definitely been a string of performances, but Charles definitely to me looks like a little bit more frantic in the car. Like he's just trying, he's like overly driving the car. And he's not really getting the result out of it this time. With 5 to go, we had Sainz, Leclerc, Norris, Russell, and Hamilton, all in the top 5. And then with the 2-minute warning, we had Norris, Sainz, Leclerc battling it out for pole. Sainz middle sector was not looking great. And still he was able to put it on provisional pole. Norris just missed out going P2. And then he dropped to P3 after Leclerc goes second. Russell comes out of nowhere. P2 and misses pole by 72 1,000ths. And actually the top 3 are all separate. Sainz, Russell, and Leclerc, it's like 79 1,000ths basically.
79 thousandths of a second separates the top 3. Like that's
don't blink,
crazy. Also Lando and Hamilton are about 0.2 seconds away from each other. It's crazy how interesting a qualifying session can be when it looks like all cars are capable of doing something special.
Right.
We basically swapped in Q3. We swapped Red Bulls for Haas's.
That was wild. I was like, wow, no Red Bulls, but 2 Haas's.
Like,
okay. All right.
I don't get it. Personally, I don't get it. But good for them.
Yeah.
Good for them.
Yeah, good for them.
Yeah, I think obviously race pace can be a completely different situation and story, but it's still, I don't know. We should celebrate 2 Haas's in Q3 because I think that is a very rare thing to
I'm surprised one of them didn't put it on poll that would have been the only other thing that would have made this session just exactly as chaotic as it sounded. Like K-Mag on poll again. Why not?
I'm excited for the start of the race now because it's like, this is it. The start of the race used to be like, I wonder if anybody can overtake Max for first during the first few laps, or it's like, how far is Max going to go? And then these guys are going to fight. Now it's like literally your top 10 can be a whole ass fight start of race.
Yeah.
Like your top 5 can 100% swap around each other in the first lap. So I'm excited to see that, obviously the whole race, but the first few laps.
And they're not separated by much. I mean, they're definitely all kind of in a position where anybody's race. I mean, I do expect the Red Bulls to have some kind of movement upward trajectory, but it still does feel a little bit with this track, the way that the overtaking can kind of be an issue. I do see like strategy being taking a huge part in this. Yeah. Tire degradation is a huge role in this. So there's always that potential of something interesting happening. So
speaking of potential of something interesting.
Yes.
It was the year 2017. A driver by the name of Sir Lewis Hamilton started P5 at the Singapore GP. And you know where Sir Lewis Hamilton ended after P5?
I think I know this.
The good sir won that race.
Top step, yeah.
So as far as copium goes...
Right. Inject it. Yeah.
There's a world.
Yeah.
There's a world.
There is a world. I mean, there is a world. The car, the funny thing with the Mercedes is like, it doesn't look impressive in quali, but it always is impressive in the race. So there's a world. There's a world.
We're talking, and I agree with you 100%. Like Lewis felt quiet during this qualifying session. Yeah. But look at what the quiet translates to.
It's always the quiet ones you got to watch out for. Yeah. Yeah.
Like there's a world where anyways, there's a world. We're not, we know how it works here. Like there is a world where Red Bull absolutely goes up, gets their first and second place because that, Thanos and everything. But I think this is going to make the race a lot more interesting at the start of it.
Yeah.
So what are your thoughts? Because I remember that I asked you this when we were talking about if it wasn't Nick DeVries race or something like that, but because Liam Lawson is here, this is his 3rd race. This is the best he's done. I actually read that the last street circuit that Liam Lawson participated in was Baku in F2, I believe 2 or 3 years ago. So what I'm saying is that's nothing. Like that's not a reference point. This is an AlphaTauri car, et cetera, et cetera. What are your, obviously, crystal ball aside and everything, like, what are your hopes or your thoughts on what Liam can do tomorrow?
I mean, I'm not sure, again, because it's the AlphaTauri that they're driving. I do believe they had some updates, but I could be wrong. I don't know. Maybe, like, I see him in the top 15 still. I don't know if he's going to be able to hold on to the top 10. I mean, if he does, I'll be very impressed. He definitely seems like composed and like calm, a little bit like Oscar Piastri, just like coming into the situation and just sort of like doing his thing. So in that respect, I definitely can see him at least having a good performance. But I just think that there's still faster cars. I mean, obviously the 2 Red Bulls are going to come by him at some point. So I think that's all you can kind of expect is maybe like a top 15. So.
But honestly, a top 15, and I'm with you, top 15 is really not only what I expect, but I think it'd be fine for him.
Yeah.
I think one factor is finishing the race for Liam, I think is on its own an achievement because street circuit mistake puts you in the wall really easily.
Right.
All of these drivers have gotten a little messy during these practices and qualifyings. So I think even finishing the race would be something that he should be proud of, just because like it's very easy not to. And made it to Q3. Hopefully we'll put him in some sort of what do you call it when you put when you have someone who gets out of or is involved in a crime as a witness, or witness protection. Hopefully they'll put Liam Lawson in witness protection so that Max Verstappen can't find him.
Retaliate.
Yeah. We are, in amongst other things, we are Oscar Piastri fans in this house. And sucks. He didn't make it past Q1 after the Lance Stroll accident. So he will be starting really, 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 really far away from where we used to see him. He's going to be 17th. He just didn't have the time to put in a good lap in Q1 and then the Lance Stroll thing. So, damn, that
we'll see where he ends up. Yeah.
Oh, 11 through 17th is an interesting bunch because it's Max's 5 and then it's Valtteri and Oscar.
Yeah.
Like that can change so much at the start of the race. Yeah. What are your thoughts on qualifying? Did you, in general, did you vibe? Did you enjoy it? Were you bored? How did you feel with it?
I feel like how I always feel. I still feel like the ATA is my favorite format for quali. Yeah, I mean, it didn't feel like super exciting. Obviously, like the 2 Red Bulls double elimination was like fun because it gives somebody else an opportunity to like, get pole or just like to see where the rest of the grid kind of like falls. But other than that, I just felt like it was decent. Like I wasn't thrilled, but it wasn't like the worst thing I've ever seen. So
the people we are not as bad as Dominicali here. We would never wish broken legs upon a Red Bull driver. With that said,
that's weird.
The people were enjoying the Red Bull thing.
Yeah, because everybody wants to see something different. It's like,
literally,
this is in contrast to them telling us like, isn't this great? Isn't this fun? And like the fact that people are more excited for them to both not be making it to the last quality session is more exciting. It just says a lot of like where the temperature actually is amongst like Formula One fans. So, of course they'll ignore all of this data and still push for whatever their narrative is. But it is very interesting, as always, to see the disparity between what the fans actually are enjoying and what they're telling us we should be enjoying. So, yeah.
I was fascinated by all the things that Max Verstappen resorted to during qualifying, the moment that his car isn't a rocket ship compared to wheelbarrows.
Yeah.
Because it was through FP1, through FP2, through FP3. They're not doing as well as they're usually doing. Q1 shows up, they're not doing as well as they're supposed to be doing. And then is it a coincidence that Max Verstappen left quali with three penalties? Like I don't think it's a coincidence that he gets 3 penalties when he's not super absurdly in the lead because of his car.
Right.
But with that, that's quali, That's quali. And you know what? We appreciate so much for the people that, if you're not aware, Tasha tweets out asking for predictions for the race whenever we're done with quali. And we've got some tweets to read out for you. So Tasha, why don't you go through the first tweet that we have?
I'm going to go with a tweet from at Mutemba. They say, Lewis, George, Carlos, the Ferraris will shoot through their tires and Sir Lewis will come alive. I know it.
Do you know it, Tasha? Do you know it?
I feel it. Yeah.
You feel it? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I wanted to shout out Virgo season. And this is at Rainy Nori. And she says she wants a podium of signs. Okay. Fine. Okay. Ocon, and Magnussen. And I'm like, girl, if this happens, like, I'm down with it, but girl, I don't know.
You never know. She might be right.
You do never know. You do never know. But
anything's
possible. I saw Ocon and Magnussen there. I'm like, shit, play the lottery if you get that podium right.
I liked a tweet from It's Greg72. He says, signed Lewis and George. Seems like a theme here. I'm seeing a theme. I'm sensing.
People are believing in signs.
Yeah.
People are believing in signs. I wanted to. I really liked this reply because it was like, I hear your question, but .nma, I'm going to say Nima, at AJ Maestro with a Y. Answer to your prediction question, I don't have the energy to think of any other outcome other than Lewis finishing P1.
I know that's right.
You know, we're tired out here.
Same.
We've been hearing too. We're tired. So like sometimes you just gotta say that's all I need. I don't care who's second and third. I don't care. But if Lewis Hamilton is number one, I'm sleeping well.
That's all that matters. Happy. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. So thank you to all who tweeted out to us. We will keep looking for your comments, answers, tweets, and everything. We do love to hear your feedback. And yeah, you know where to find us if you ever want to talk about anything. Yeah, I kind of locked up there. With the people's predictions aside, what is Tasha's prediction for Singapore GP?
Okay. So I'm gonna go P1 Carlos Sainz.
Okay.
I am trying to put faith that Ferrari will just not get this wrong. But we'll see. I'm gonna keep George in P2. And I'm gonna either say Lando or Lewis for P3.
Oh, I
feel like Lando is gonna be a factor. But again, it's just, but see, the thing with these three, Ferrari, McLaren, Mercedes, the strategy situation can sometimes be a little sketch. So, you know, if everything goes well, if there's not a bunch of flags, which, you know, that could even be a factor at some point. Okay, Chris is telling me I can't have 2 for 3. Okay.
Cannot have.
He said, girl, pick one. Okay.
Girl, choose a lane and stick to it.
Girl, pick one. Okay, so I'm going to go Sainz, Russell, and Hamilton.
Okay. Sainz, Russell, and Hamilton.
Yes.
That's a... Ooh.
Not the all caps. He's like, pick one.
Yes, our producer is saying, pick one.
Like,
okay, I really like that. I'm going to be a party pooper and say Carlos does not finish in the podium. I am going to go with I'm going to go with my heart. Yeah, I want a George Russell podium. He drove the shit out of that car. I want him first. First is where I want him. I want a Lando Norris second.
Okay.
Give me a Lewis third. That's right. That's right. That's right. I like that.
A little bit.
I like that. Sorry, Carlos. I just don't believe. I'm going to be honest. I don't believe in Carlos Sainz to get 2 back-to-back wins in a Grand Prix. I just don't have that in me. And maybe he'll prove me wrong, and that'll be great. But I do not have it in me to say he's going to win. Okay. Right. What is? We've got a note from our. Yes. Oh, Chris coming in.
Wants to be involved. Yeah.
Chris wants to be involved, and he wants to say that his podium is Sir Lewis Hamilton, Lando Norris, and George Russell.
Okay.
We'd love to see that too.
All right.
We'd love to see that.
I love that in none of these cases, no one has picked a Red Bull to even be on a podium. So I just think it's interesting. I'm like, do we not have any faith in the RB19 to get it together for race pace? I don't know. Question mark?
Look, to be fair, this isn't like a gimme like other tracks.
Yeah.
If you did not predict Red Bull in the top 3, you have all of the data from the free practices and qualifying to be like, I don't think they're doing that well,
right?
Compared to how they're usually doing.
Yeah.
Because like typically, if we predict like they killed it in practice or they were super close in qualifying to being in the podium or something like that, so it's like it might happen, it could happen, it has happened.
It's been an off weekend for them, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. As Max has let us know on his radio. So yes, it has not been great for them.
So angry. You would forget that he's won the last 10 races. You know, you would suddenly forget that. So angry. So mature. So cool. So then we have additionally let's pass him how. So we have Lewis starting at 5th. We have Alonso starting at 7th. Oh, got you. Okay. So this is an interesting note. Right now, the Formula One standings are Max first, Checo second. But for third and fourth, we have Fernando Alonso in third with 170 points. And we have Lewis Hamilton fourth with 164 points. So only 6 points separate them currently. Lewis is starting fifth. Lewis is starting fifth. Alonso is starting seventh this race. Do you think Lewis passes Alonso in the standings this race, gets those 6 extra points, and goes up to third place?
I mean, I guess it just really depends on the race that Alonso has. Again, if Lewis, I think, can capitalize and get a podium, which I'm hoping for. I don't see why not. But I guess it also depends on where Alonso finishes as well. Like, if he's able to keep some sort of gap close, because at one point they were only like a point apart from each other. So, I mean, it's very possible he can hang on to it by like a thread. But
I definitely like that you have 2 Mercedes in front of Alonso. So that should tell you that if the Mercedes work together, it should be that the 2 Mercedes end in front of Alonso. But that's actually a great storyline. Thank you, Chris, for that one. We did not have that in the plans, but that's actually super interesting because it is just 6 points. Let me piggyback on that because this is also super interesting in the same line of thought. Sainz is fifth right now with 117 points. Leclerc is sixth with 111 points. So the 2 Ferraris are also separated by just 6 points in the standings. So let's see what happens this race. If Sainz gets himself that podium, then it's going to be even a bigger lead. And not to go super into it, but Tasha, do you think if like Carlos Sainz ends this season with more points than Leclerc, which seems doable, do you think Ferrari would even for a second say like, maybe not say, but like, do you think Ferrari would actually consider Leclerc as our first driver? I'm sorry, Sainz as our first driver and Leclerc as our second?
No. I mean, I honestly, I think they're like, they bet all in on Charles. I think they're going to re-sign Sainz. I don't really see why they wouldn't or shouldn't. Like, I don't see another person who can take that seat.
Yeah.
Unless it's some sort of team dynamic thing, like where he's just really hard to work with and maybe they want somebody else there. But the results are the results, and he definitely is doing much better this season than Charles is. So I just don't see a world where they get rid of him for no reason. But I also just feel like, I think Carlos's confidence is growing to the point where I think he maybe will see himself looking for other options. So, maybe it's not so much will Ferrari keep him, but it's like, do I want to stay at Ferrari type of thing? I don't know.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. Absolutely.
That's the vibe I get. But yeah.
Mentioned that Lewis won in 2017 from fifth. Max has never won in Singapore, and Alonso this race will clear most laps driven by anybody in F1 at 20,000 laps.
Damn.
So yeah, interesting stuff.
Long haul.
Yeah, it's so many. Imagine doing anything 20,000 times. But yeah, that is qualifying for Singapore. We are excited to see how the race shapes up tomorrow. Obviously, we'll be watching. If you're still listening or are still watching or anything, feel free to leave us a comment, a review, subscribe to our channels, download our episodes, share with a friend, share with your mom, share with your sister, your brother, who cares? Share it with everybody. We have fun here. We will be back with a main pod next week. Nyasha, I'm sure, will break down what he likes and dislikes in Singapore. But we will be back either way. It doesn't matter if it's an off week or if it's a race week.
Saturday, yeah, it's a Saturday show for a reason.
I can't do accents for.
I can't either.
I will never try that again. I guarantee that when my younger brother watches this episode, he's going to text me and be like, "Don't ever try accents again on the podcast," because we are very clear that I cannot do accents. Thank you very much to all who watched. Thank you very much for all of you who are in the comments. We do a pretty good job about both reading the comments and then just having a conversation. Obviously, it's the internet, but if we ever see something that's disrespectful or anything like that, go off. But we're just gonna ignore it, so we don't really bother with that. But if you have anything you want to add to the show or anything like that, feel free to reach out. But yeah, I've been Mario, and this has been the post-quali show for the Singapore GP. You can find me I closed Threads, by the way. Threads is can't be asked. So now you can find me on Twitter, or Instagram at Mario_APM. Tasha, where can the people find you?
I'm on Twitter, Threads, and Instagram at Tasha. So yes.
You're not the other Instagram account?
No. I have a specific Instagram account for F1 and hanging out with you guys. You're such a professional. Yeah.
I'm fucking telling you.
I just feel like people don't really care about the beauty stuff on F1. I don't know. You guys let me know. But yeah, you can.
As if we're not all dying for Lewis Hamilton to drop the skincare routine over here in F1.
Yeah.
Like,
I'm waiting. I'm first in line.
Drop the line.
As soon as he lets me know what sunscreen he's using, I'm buying 50. So
yeah. All right. Yes. Well, thank you very much to everybody. Tasha, take us away, please.
Thank you guys again for listening. We really appreciate you. And remember, no matter what happens in life, keep it on the black stuff. Bye.
Please.
Look, mate, if you've got this far, clearly you like what we do. So here's a link to subscribe to the Quick Stop F1 family. Give that a click. And here's another link to some more cool on our channel. Sorry, cool stuff. And remember, no matter what happens, keep it on the black stuff. Click the stuff. Click the links. Click the links. Click the links. There. They're there.